Salvador Perez. The 2-2. Popped up. Sandoval in foul territory. Giants win. A World Series win for the San Francisco Giants for the third time in the last 5 years. And their hero, Madison Bumgarner.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Yals Truly. This is Simon here, joined by my co-host Zach. We're also going to have a special guest on today, Brian. He's here to talk some Royals baseball with us and maybe talk a little bit about the Chiefs' defensive coordinator hire as well. But we're going to start with the big news of the week, of course. Whit Merrifield inking a 4-year deal with the Royals worth $16.25 million guaranteed through the end of the 2022 season, as well as a club option for the 2023 season. Zach, what do you think? Good for the Royals, good for Whit, good for both?
I think it's well-deserving. He's been one of the best second basemen for the past 2 years. And from a money standpoint, it's pretty cheap for what he's worth. It also gives the fans something to look forward to for the years to come.
Totally agree. And, we discussed this a little bit on our last podcast. I think me and you are both in favor of it, just because when you're in a rebuilding process such as this, it's good to have a position player to where you feel fairly confident of what he is and fairly confident that he can be someone for you once maybe you're ready to contend again. Brian, what are your thoughts on this deal?
Yeah, I think it's a good deal for both, like Zach said and you said, I mean, still a cheap deal for the Royals, money-wise. I mean, the guy led the league in hits last year. He's a versatile player. You can play in the outfield if you need him to. Second base, wherever. So, and I mean, if the Royals are crappy again and they can still trade him and probably get a good haul for him, worst case.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And one thing that I found somewhat attractive about Whit's season last year is I think the broadcasters talked about it a lot, and I got a lot of negative stuff to say about Hudler and Ryan, but one of the things I think they really touched on that I did agree with is after Whit's big home run year in 2017, 19 homers, he kind of shocked a lot of people. I don't think he hit 19 homers in his career, even dating back to the minors before that. He kind of shortened up his swing, and he still hit 12 homers, but the average was even higher last year, and I think that's really encouraging, especially a lot of times you see guys when they have a big power year, they'll come back and they think that's who they are now, and it didn't seem like it really affected Whit too much, and he was able to kind of just get back to what he's good at, and he probably had his best career year last year, and he keeps kind of improving as his career goes on, and I think that's very encouraging as you look at this deal.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't lose his edge now that he got his contract. That happens with a lot of players.
That's definitely, it definitely is something. I guess that would be my primary concern about this deal. Of course, you can say that about any deal, but especially with a player like Whit, to where he's kind of been, on almost, at the fringes of just being in the big leagues for so long. He didn't make his debut until very late, 26, 27 years old. He's used to kind of, having his back against the wall, and now this is really the first time in his career. And even when he came up in 2016, he played okay, but the management still trusted
Mondesi.
They still trusted Mondesi at second. I think they wanted to eventually get Mondesi to short, but didn't seem like they had a lot of faith in Whit. But then they brought him back up, and he continued to produce. But yeah, at this point in his career, hopefully, having that security, he still has the drive to be a very good player for the Royals. Another thing I wanted to add about this deal is he avoids arbitration, which probably is going to end up being a pretty good financial move for Whit due to how the arbitration process works in Major League Baseball. Typically rewards players who hit for power above all else, so a huge home run surge for Whit. He would really cash in, but, given the type of player that he is, that doesn't seem all that likely. So I think for him, it's going to build a lot of trust in the organization to where, maybe they won't move him, or, if they end up moving him, he feels rewarded for what he's done so far to this point in his career.
So I got a question for you guys. If they do move him, what do you guys want to get for him? Like, I mean, I think most people would say pitching, right? Our bullpen is pretty much trash. But I just wonder.
We would need obviously some prospects, but I would like some proven players as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and well, at this point, it depends when we traded him as well. He's through 2022 right now, so I'd expect a pretty good haul if we were able to deal him. I don't know if I am in favor of that, but I think we could get probably some major league pieces, some younger major league pieces, as well as some good minor league pieces for him. Yeah, one thing I wanted to touch on about Whit though was Moore has already stated he doesn't really plan on trading him in the future. I don't know. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that he won't. It's certainly, I can see the argument to trading Whit, although I don't necessarily agree with it. But I really think this move is to just secure him financially, build some trust within the organization to where, he really wants to be there long term. And I think Whit's made it pretty clear, how he wants to stay in Kansas City for as long as possible.
Well, I think they all say that. I mean,
of course
they have
do,
to, basically.
Yeah, that's true. There's definitely a PR.
I feel like he actually likes it here.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, there's definitely a PR aspect to that. They're not going to say, "Oh, I want out." Obviously, I guess there are situations where they do that. It doesn't always mean it's,
yeah, that's just
it's honest.
In the NBA.
Yeah, Anthony Davis. But from what I've seen from Whit, seems like the fans like him a lot. He's a good fit for what Royals fans have kind of become accustomed to. A lot of heart, a lot of hustle. Plays with a massive chip on his shoulder. That's kind of what Royals fans have seen in past years, going back to their championship teams. And although he wasn't a part of that championship group, he definitely fits that mold very well. So other Royals news I wanted to get to today. The last show we kind of glanced by it. We didn't talk about it a whole lot. It's kind of old news at this point, but could be relatively important for the franchise moving forward into next year. Eric Skoglund was suspended for 80 games. He tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. The drugs he tested positive for were Osterine and Ligandrol. And Osterine is a classic steroid era sort of drug, so I don't think there was really any question of what his intent was with that. This is not like Mondesi testing positive for Adderall and getting his suspension rescinded. This is a legit steroid suspension we got in our hand, and 80 games, Major League Baseball came down pretty hard on him. What kind of impact you think this suspension may have on the team, if any at all? I think there's a lot of some of the hype around Skoglund has died out, but certainly could have some impact.
Yeah, I think it's positive, honestly. He's pretty horrible. I would give us 10 extra wins.
Hey, Simon, do you know when? Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, when did they actually get that test from him? Was it like during the season last season, or was it like really recently?
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think they test at this point in middle of January. They could. I could be wrong. They might send in tests to his residence, but I think it's more likely was probably when he was with the team last year. And of course, one of the things I wonder about with his usage is he was hurt last year, so I don't know how much of this was to recover. You see that a lot with injured players with alternative performance-enhancing drugs to perhaps speed up their recovery time. But with Skoglund, I think struggling as a starting pitcher for the majority of his career, really just having one notably good start to his name, which is his major league debut against the Tigers in 2017. It doesn't seem like a huge loss for the team on the surface. The only way I really could view this as a huge negative is if, maybe they turn to him to go to the bullpen, and I could maybe see him being an effective bullpen pitcher. But I mean, he hasn't proven it, so who knows really.
I mean, he had a few shots last year at the bullpen, and he wasn't very impressive. And that's on PEDs, so.
Yeah. His numbers for last year, his ERA was 5.14. He had a one win, 6 losses. I agree with Zach. I think it's probably going to help the team. I mean, only thing I could see, like Simon's saying, is if you try to put him in like a middle relief or a long relief, but God, I don't know if you even want him there. But then again, you look at our bullpen, and it's like, what are you going to do?
Right, and that's the
Not
one.
to be too hard on him, but I would probably release him. I mean, he's kind of worthless now.
I definitely think when you look at his numbers over the years, now, PED suspension in his face, I think there's a good chance he's maybe pitched his last major league game. Usually when you take a fall that big, after not really being a great player, it really doesn't end out well. And although Major League Baseball, they are kind of hypocrites about how they handle this. I don't know if you've seen Henry Mejia. He's a Mets pitcher back in 14 or 15, I believe. He tested positive for like the 3rd time, and they're reinstating him. He was initially banned from baseball, and they're reinstating him. So, I think Major League Baseball is a lot of bark, no bite when it comes to PED suspensions, but 80 games is certainly pretty hefty. I'm not saying, Skoglund's not going to get banned for 1 suspension, but just with his production level, it seems doubtful he's going to really make an impact anymore at the big league level. And, getting back to just to play devil's advocate here for a minute, this bullpen is so bad that I've seen pitchers like Skoglund who have really struggled as starters go to the pen and have kind of a rejuvenation. Just because, especially a guy like Skoglund, he's got that really interesting arm angle. Royals fans thought he was baby Chris Sale after his first start. Of course, he doesn't throw nearly with the velocity that Sale does. But maybe on a lower pitch count, more max effort, he could really dial it up and throw some good pitches. But who knows? It's I think he pitched out of the bullpen a little bit last year, and he didn't seem much better. But if he were to do that, I'd almost like to see him more in more of a middle relief, or even towards the back end, maybe like a 7 guy, where he could just really let it out for 2-3 outs. I think that could maybe be the best spot. But if you're turning to that, then your bullpen's got to be very, very bad, which it is, of course.
I mean, I guess I could see him in a role like garbage time, like if we're down 10-2. You don't want to waste any good arms. Yeah, just waste him because that's what he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might get a lot of pitching time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think on the last podcast we discussed we kind of like our, the starters on this team, at least the first 3, and then it takes a huge dip once it gets to Candy.
Yeah, they could have potential.
Yeah. I know there was even some talk about Skoglund being maybe your 5th starter, competing with a lot of guys, competing with Lopez, competing with Philmeyer, Oaks. But again, if that's your 5th starter, I really think you're in for a world of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about our starting pitching today, and it's like we really have to have like a good year out of Duffy, Junis, Keller. I've lost all hope in Kennedy being worth the crap anymore. So I don't know. Maybe he'll do something, but because I don't know what Dayton's going to do, if he's going to get bullpen pitchers, or what I mean, or if he's just like screw it, we're just going with what we got.
There's there's still some guys out on the market right now. Trying to figure out exactly, I was praising Dayton for the Whit deal, but there's a lot of really suspect moves or lack of moves this offseason. We talked about this on the last show as well, but there's a lot of guys sitting around, not anyone amazing, not anyone who's going to be too high of a price as well. The Royals could really use and could definitely boost their team, at least in the short term. I know this team's looking towards long-term success at this point, but I definitely want to get some fans in the seats, win some games. Couldn't hurt.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if anything happens.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of fans going home with watching their teams blow late leads last year, but
Yeah, I don't think you can go back-to-back seasons and have that outcome without the fans getting pretty restless.
Yeah.
Well, who was the kid that we drafted out of, I think it was Florida last year?
Brady Singer.
Yeah, he's like the top 100. I don't know, some top 100 list. I don't know if it's prospects or whatever, but I mean, they're saying that they think he might be major league ready by next year, which if so, that could be huge.
Yeah, Singer's definitely someone, very high on. That was a great pick, in my opinion. A lot of the draft experts had him kind of, further or up. We actually kind of got a steal. I think that was a, great draft pick for the Royals, and especially for a team, that really needs some instant excitement. If he can come up this year, maybe even in a September call-up and produce, that would be a huge boost just for the morale, the future of this team and where they're headed.
Yeah, I agree. Saw a projected starting lineup for the Royals, and they had Soler DHing, which I thought was awesome. Keep him out of our outfield. It didn't have I forget who last name's like Awnings. I should know this.
Chris Owings.
Yeah, it had him starting in the outfield, so it was like the outfield was like Gordon, Owings, and
I don't like that.
That's horrible.
Oh, and
Boniface.
Hamilton, right?
No, he didn't have Hamilton starting, which I don't know who did.
He's got to be in center field.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
At third base, and I don't really care about Dozier.
Yeah, Dozier starting third.
I would bring Owings off the bench. I'd put Owings in that utility sort of role. I mean, I think he'd get a lot of playing time with this team, but no, outfield, I would definitely go Gordon, Hamilton, and maybe Bonnie, or Soler on any given night, maybe. You can interchange those guys from DH to right field probably. Of course, those guys aren't great defenders, but having Gordon and Hamilton out there kind of makes up for some of it. Just hope they don't hit a lot of balls to right.
Yeah.
Pulling up something now about Brady Singer, Pedro Martinez from MLB Network. He said he called Singer the safest bet in the draft last year. He said, this kid is strong. He's got 2 big league pitches ready already. The fastball, his power fastball, the curveball is there. Big time praise. Just really excited. You look at his last season at Florida, 11-1 with a 2.27 ERA. There's definitely a lot to be excited about as I look into Brady Singer.
And who was the other kid we drafted pretty high? Wasn't he from Florida too?
Yeah, Jackson Coar. We took him with the 33rd pick. A lot of people like, I don't know. I mean, from what I've seen of Singer, I think he really has a lot of potential. And this isn't really a shot at Coar, but a lot of people think Coar is actually closer to being big league ready than Singer is, which says a lot because, as you were saying, Singer was pretty close. There's a chance he could obviously come up late this year, or if not next year. So he's not too far away. And that's always the benefit of drafting a college kid, is they're a little more seasoned, a little more closer to the big league level than, say, a high school kid would be.
Are we going to see Zimmer this year?
Oh, God. I don't even know if I want to get into that. I mean, that seems like a question we've asked for 6 or 7 straight years now. Are we going to see Bubba Starling, too, this year? I mean, God, who knows, man.
I thought we DFA'd Zimmer, but then we brought him back, right?
Yeah, he signed a major league contract, I believe. Like a 1-year deal or something? I could be wrong. I thought I heard that.
Has he made his major league debut yet? I honestly don't even know.
If he has, I think he always gets close and then he breaks his arm or something.
If he did make his debut, it was probably, when we were at 102 losses or something, and I probably wasn't watching, just to be honest with you.
I don't think he has. I think Zach's right.
Yeah, I don't think he has either.
Yeah, I don't remember.
What about Starling? Bubba Starling? Has he made his debut yet? I don't remember him either.
I think he has.
Yeah, I think he has, but I'm to the point with that guy, man. Just he's worthless.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you got to just give up on those guys.
Didn't we draft Starling in like 2011 or something like that? And every year, I guarantee you there'll be some Royals writer this year in spring training who's like, oh, Bubba Starling, he's really tearing it up down there. Maybe he makes the club this year. And, you know.
They say Nicky Lopez is, though.
Yeah, Nicky Lopez I do like a little bit. He's got some potential, but he's also a name we've kind of heard for a little bit, so we'll see. Bubba Starling. Yep, already an article on Royals Review. Is this the year Bubba Starling makes it to the big league club?
Yeah, I would expect that from Royals Review.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we need like a natural rivalry with Royals Review on this podcast. We gotta get the beef going a little bit. I don't really like their style, so you know, Royals Review, it's on site.
Yeah, they're really grasping for straws there if that's what they're going to write about.
Yeah, that's a big time clickbait move, but you know, I guess dead of winter, not a whole lot to write about as far as baseball goes.
I got a question for you guys. I was just thinking about this earlier. So who's the hot young catcher prospect for the Royals? Like Soli Mateus or something like that?
Suli Mateus,
Yeah.
Matias, something like that, yeah.
What is he like? He's like 19 or 20 years old. I think he's going to be in Double-A this year. What do you think? Like if he makes Triple-A, Salvi possibly starts showing a little decline in the next year or two when they trade Salvi.
I could actually see them moving Salvi to first.
Yeah, the thing with Salvi is he's played so much early in his career. He's played catcher so much that he's going to have a big time. He's going to have a lot of wear and tear on those knees. Of course, you know, Cardinals have played Yachty for a while, for example. I mean, some guys hold up, but of course, Yachty's suffered a lot of injuries. The thing with Matias is his bat is very inconsistent. He has insane raw power. I don't know if you saw last year in the Futures game. I think he went deep twice. So a lot of people took note of that. But his average has been pretty poor. He strikes out way too much. So he's definitely going to need to improve the bat, or else I don't really see it translating a whole lot to the big league level, at least yet.
Is his defense any good?
To be honest with you, not entirely sure about his defense. Let me look him up.
Well, compared to Salvi, I mean, probably not.
It's hard to compare.
Looking at his stats right now, he's hitting .238 last year, but he had a huge strikeout rate. He struck out nearly 37% of his at-bats, which is insane. And that's in Single A. That's in Lexington. So that's really going to have to come down a lot. You know, so I think he's still got a few years to go, probably 3-4 years, probably 3 years or so, if he improves at the rate you'd hope. But, of course, he's still very young, only 19 years old. All right, so the other thing I wanted to get into tonight, Chiefs hired Steve Spagnuolo as their new defensive coordinator. Of course, they fired Sutton soon after their loss to the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. I don't think Sutton was definitely the most liked guy in Kansas City. There was maybe a few people who argued that it wasn't really his fault. He was kind of being scapegoated. What were you guys' thoughts of Sutton's time in Kansas City?
I agree with that. I mean, like I said last podcast, I think a lot of the times the players were in the right spot. They just missed easy tackles. And that gets put on Sutton, but, I mean, it's on the guys that are actually playing.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. Like, if you watch both games against the Patriots, like, the Chiefs did nothing different in the playoff game than they did in the first game in Week 6 at Foxborough, which really surprises me. I mean, they're running cover 2 in the fourth quarter. Brady's just picking them apart. I mean, yeah, I know players got to make plays, but the scheme was just, like, terrible in my opinion.
Well, and I agree with you, Brian. Another thing you also have to consider is, as Zach was saying, the missed tackles. That's on coaching. These guys are, obviously pros and they should know how to tackle, but
that's not on coaching.
Oh, it
Come
totally is.
on.
Oh
They've been
yeah,
playing
it
football
is.
since they no, it's not. They've been playing football since they were kids. If you don't know how to tackle, then just go away.
You have to reinforce technique. It's not something that you can just let go. It's, there's a lot of drills and stuff that go into that.
Yeah, what a
And
soft generation.
It didn't look like it was being enforced too hard. But moving on to Spagnuolo, what are your initial thoughts on his hiring?
I think it's a good hire. I mean, he was picked pretty fast, so maybe they had him in mind before.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an easy job for him because he'll have a lot of time in the off season, and also we gave up like 30 points every game, so if he just cuts it to like 20, he'll be a hero here.
Yeah, and I think Spagnuolo is going to be pretty popular among Chiefs fans, at least until the defense starts sucking again, essentially, because he kind of does his schemes like basically a polar opposite of what Sutton ran. You're going to see a cover 4. He runs a lot more man coverage. Obviously Chiefs fans are frustrated by the third and longs they've given up for years under Sutton. So hopefully this should help cut down that just by being a little more aggressive with the secondary. And of course we might get burned for some long plays more, but I think, and that's the payoff for it. But I think it's at least a good opposite to what Sutton brought.
Yeah, I mean, my personal feeling, I didn't really like the hire, but I mean, if you kind of look at the big picture, like obviously he's probably going to be better than Sutton. But if you look at like Spags, like the defenses he had with the Giants, like they weren't very good, except for the year they won the Super Bowl when he had all pros all over the field. So, I mean, if you look at, I can't remember their ranking, like when he was defensive coordinator, but it was like 27th, 30th. And I don't know if that was like points allowed or yards allowed, but it wasn't like world beater numbers. But I mean, if he can get them to like middle of the road defense, like everybody knows, then yeah, they'll probably win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, in the draft, we got to go after some corners and secondary and try and get rid of the trash players we had last year.
Yeah, no, that's definitely need number 1 in the draft this year. I think my biggest problem with this Spags hire is I don't think his style really fits what the Chiefs, I almost said Royals there, my bad. I don't think it fits what the Chiefs currently have. It needs a big athletic safety who can roam around the center, play multiple zones, cover a lot of ground. Obviously, you're thinking, okay, Eric Berry, but from what we've seen from Berry and his time playing last year, and just the fact that he's been so inconsistent as far as his availability to get onto the field, that's going to be a big problem if unless Berry can really get back into game shape and be effective again. But that's that's kind of a gamble. Looking at him, he's somewhat of a veteran at this point. He's been through a lot. As far as injuries go, obviously the recovery from cancer took a big toll on his body, and I don't know if he's really recovered to be the same player since.
Yeah, and I think the big thing with the Spags hire is he's a read guy. Like, people were talking about Rex Ryan, or Rex Ryan's kind of got this big ego. You don't know what he's going to say, and Reed probably looked at that and was like, I want someone like a yes man read
yes
guy,
man. Yeah,
and that's another issue I have with it is, do we really want another Reed yes man guy? I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it works out.
I wanted Rex Ryan instead because, like you said, he does his own thing, and I think that might be good for the defense. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, Reed doesn't pay any attention to the defense. As soon as Patrick Mahomes comes off the field, he's over there sitting there talking to him, and the defense. I don't even know if I'm sure he watches, film, but I mean, if you want a field general, then Rex Ryan would be the number 1 pick, I would think. for defense.
Yeah, Ryan was. I had some concerns about Ryan. There was not really a candidate that I really liked. I'm okay with Spags. I think there's some benefits to hiring him. I also think there's some worries with that hire as well. You just look at his career as a head coach. His record from 2009 to 2011 was 10-38, and I know that's a head coach. Not being a defensive coordinator is somewhat different, but you just look at his coaching resume. He's never really won anywhere he's been. A lot of losing with the Giants when he was their defensive coordinator, and not a great defense either. He obviously has some talent to work with here, but he had some talent to work with in previous stops as well, albeit maybe not as much as this. But yeah, I don't know. It could work. It should be refreshing for the fans to see a new style of defense. They're going to fix some of the things that Sutton did wrong, but then there's also going to be new problems that arise out of this hire, in my opinion.
Yeah, I felt like they just kind of rushed it. Maybe like you said that Spags was who they wanted all along, because like a name that I never heard mentioned was Marvin Lewis. He was a pretty good defensive coach, head coach for 16 years. I was like, I didn't re-interview him, and Jack Del Rio, I don't think he's still been hired. He's a good defensive guy too.
Yeah,
I like Marvin Lewis, but I think you don't want Andy Reid and Marvin Lewis on the same sideline in the playoffs, because
Yeah, that's true. That's like Ottawa City right there.
Yeah.
Oh boy, we may never win another playoff game again. You want to talk about starting a curse? There you go. Hire Marvin Lewis and put him right next to Andy Reid. What do you guys think of Eric Bieniemy? Do you guys think he stays? Do you guys think he gets a head coaching gig somewhere?
Well, he's coming back next season. You mean after that?
Yeah, essentially, long term.
Yeah, I feel like it'll just be the same as like Nagy and Peterson. If the Chiefs make the AFC Championship game next year, he's probably gone.
Yeah.
Especially with, the Cardinals hired freaking Cliff Kingsbury, and he just got fired from his college alma mater.
Yeah, that's all-time. That's the worst hire of the offseason by far.
He should be sending Patrick Mahomes like a nice Christmas gift next year.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I think he got hired because of Mahomes, in a way.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine going from offensive coordinator at a college, albeit a decent, college program in USC, to a head coach in the NFL in one off season. That's insane to me.
It was less than a month, wasn't it? Wasn't he there for like a week or two?
2 weeks, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't believe the Cardinals had any interest. Of course, that organization's been plagued for a long time with making pretty poor hires, so it shouldn't really surprise you. That's a pretty dysfunctional team, and it has been. As far as Bieniemy goes,
see the Rams, and they have a young coach, so they want to copy that.
There definitely is that trend. Everyone wants to get the next Sean McVay. The Redskins tried that with Gruden as well, Jay Gruden. But I don't know. I think McVay is more of an anomaly in that sense. He's a great coach, but I don't think everyone can just go around hiring some 28-year-old and expect him to lead a team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, a few teams will do it and they'll realize it doesn't work and then go back to the drawing board.
Hey, if you're a good coach, you're a good coach. Doesn't matter how old you are. But, I definitely agree that there's definitely a little bit of a trend there. We got to get this young, hot shot in there. And Kingsbury fits that mold perfectly, so every team just wants to try it.
Also talking about garbage franchises. So I guess the Cardinals aren't necessarily garbage, but I heard the other day that the Oakland Raiders sent their season ticket holders info that they don't know where they're going to be playing next year, but they'll let them know as soon as they know.
Oh man, doesn't that make you want to go rush out and get your season tickets for next year?
Yeah, the NFL really screwed that up.
When are they headed to Vegas? They're headed to Vegas pretty soon, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it'll be built in 2021 or 22 maybe.
Oh, okay. So they're not moving until the new stadium gets built?
Yeah, so they just got to find elsewhere till then.
Oakland's really been screwed lately in sports. You got the Warriors moving to San Fran. You got the Raiders moving out. You got the A's, but I don't know. That's rough.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you have to live in Oakland if you're a fan. So double whammy. All right, that should just about do it today. We'd like to thank our guest Brian for joining us and providing us with some new perspective. Don't forget to follow us on our Twitter at YalsTrulyPod. And you can DM us with any questions you may have or suggestions for future shows. If you want to go back and listen to our last podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud. If you guys want any more platforms that may be easier for you guys to access for us to post these podcasts on, please let us know. And it's a pleasure talking to you guys. And until next time. Instagram too. Yeah, we just made an Instagram. Same at Yals Truly Pod. Yeah, pleasure talking with you guys. Until next time, this is Yals Truly.